When I walked into that police station to report a stolen car, I never expected the investigator to go pale the moment he heard my last name. "Are you the son of Vanderbilt Enterprises?" he asked carefully. I nodded. He looked past me, directly at my wife standing beside me, and asked the question that detonated everything. "Then why was your spouse still trying to sell the vehicle you're reporting stolen?" What happened next shattered everything I thought I knew about the woman I'd married. My name is James Vanderbilt. 41 years old. Born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. My father built Vanderbilt Enterprises from a single trucking company into a logistics empire worth approximately $340 million. I'd spent 15 years working alongside him, quietly, loyally, without ever once touching the spotlight he'd always preferred to keep entirely to himself. I wasn't flashy. Didn't drive exotic cars. Didn't wear my last name like a badge. Which is exactly why, I later realized, Rachel had chosen me so carefully. We'd met 4 years ago at a charity fundraiser downtown. She was warm, grounded, surprisingly unimpressed by my family name. That was what got me. Everyone else leaned forward when they heard Vanderbilt. Rachel had simply smiled and asked what I actually enjoyed doing with my life. I'd married her 14 months later. That Thursday morning, I'd walked to my building's parking garage and found my car simply gone. A 2022 Range Rover. Gone clean. No broken glass. No alarm triggered. I'd assumed theft. I'd asked Rachel to come with me for support. I had absolutely no idea she was the reason we were there. The investigator's name was Detective Frank Caselli. 23 years on the force. Broad shoulders, reading glasses pushed up on his forehead, the kind of man who'd seen enough to stop being surprised by almost anything. Almost. He was surprised now. He'd asked Rachel to wait outside, calmly, professionally, giving nothing away. She'd smiled pleasantly and stepped into the hallway. The moment that door closed, Caselli leaned forward across his desk and dropped his voice. "Mr. Vanderbilt, your vehicle wasn't stolen." I stared at him. "What do you mean it wasn't stolen?" "It's gone. I walked down this morning and—" "It was listed for private sale," Caselli said quietly. "On 3 separate platforms. Facebook Marketplace, AutoTrader, one private luxury vehicle forum." He turned his monitor toward me. There was my Range Rover. Photographed from every angle. Interior shots. Full specs listed. Asking price, $94,000. Cash only. Private seller. The listing had gone live at 11:47 p.m. last night. I'd been asleep beside Rachel at 11:47 p.m. last night. "How did you find this?" I asked. My voice sounded strange to me. Distant. "One of our officers moonlights monitoring luxury vehicle fraud," Caselli said. "Your plates flagged automatically, registered to Vanderbilt Enterprises." He paused. "Mr. Vanderbilt, the contact number on that listing. We traced it this morning before you arrived." He slid a printed page across the desk. I looked at the number. I knew it by heart. I'd called it every single day for the past 4 years. It was Rachel's. I sat there staring at that printed page for a long time. Rachel's number. Rachel's listing. Rachel's photographs of my car, taken from angles that only someone with regular access could manage. Underground parking. Private elevator level. Spots only residents could reach. She hadn't hired someone. She'd done it herself. "There's something else," Caselli said carefully. He was watching me the way doctors watch patients when they're about to deliver news that can't be taken back. "We pulled the listing activity this morning. Your vehicle had already received 7 serious inquiries. 2 potential buyers had scheduled viewings." He paused. "One was booked for this afternoon. 2 o'clock. She hadn't just listed my car. She was hours away from selling it." "Do you have any idea," I asked slowly, "why she would do this?" Caselli clasped his hands on the desk. "That's what concerns me more than the car, Mr. Vanderbilt." He opened a folder. "When our officer flagged the listing this morning, he ran a standard background check on the contact number. Your wife's number." He slid another document forward. "Rachel Vanderbilt has 2 previous names on record. Rachel Simmons. And before that, Rachel Crane." I felt the room tilt slightly. "She's changed her name twice?" 3 times total, including your married name." Caselli's voice was steady. "Careful. And Mr. Vanderbilt, Rachel Crane was investigated in Phoenix, Arizona in 2018 for fraud. The case was dropped due to insufficient evidence." I thought about the woman sitting in the hallway right now, smiling pleasantly at the receptionist, completely relaxed. Caselli gave me 60 seconds to process everything. Then he leaned forward. Mr. Vanderbilt, I need to ask you something important and I need complete honesty. His eyes were steady. Direct. Does your wife have access to any other assets? Bank accounts, property, business documents, anything connected to Vanderbilt Enterprises? The question hit me like cold water, because the answer was yes. 3 weeks ago Rachel had asked me to add her to my personal accounts. Completely casually, over dinner, almost as an afterthought. Just makes things easier, babe. In case of emergencies. I'd done it the following morning without a second thought. Joint access. Full visibility. Transfer permissions included. I'd also, God help me, given her a secondary key card to my father's corporate storage facility in Naperville. She'd offered to collect documents for me during a busy week. I'd handed it over without hesitation. She has access to everything, I said quietly. Caselli was already reaching for his phone. I'm going to need you to stay very calm, he said, dialing. And I'm going to need you to act completely normal when she comes back into this room. Can you do that? I didn't answer immediately, because through the small glass panel in Caselli's office door, I could see Rachel in the hallway. She wasn't sitting pleasantly anymore. She was standing near the exit. Phone pressed hard against her ear. Speaking quickly. Body angled away from the receptionist's desk cameras. She wasn't waiting for me. She was warning someone. Caselli saw her the same moment I did. He didn't panic. Didn't rush. Simply stood, walked to his door with the calm of someone who'd done this 1,000 times, and quietly asked a uniformed officer in the hallway to invite Mrs. Vanderbilt back inside. Rachel came in smiling. That smile. God, that smile. Warm. Easy. Completely manufactured. Everything okay? She asked, settling into the chair beside me. Her hand found mine automatically. Squeezed gently. Just some paperwork, I said. My voice was steadier than I expected. Caselli asked Rachel routine questions. When had she last seen the vehicle? Had she noticed anything suspicious in the building recently? Standard theft investigation language. Rachel answered everything perfectly, concerned, cooperative, occasionally glancing at me with sympathetic eyes. She was extraordinary. While she spoke, I was thinking about one thing only. Who had she been calling? Caselli wrapped up the meeting professionally. Told us he'd follow up within 24 hours. Shook our hands. Completely ordinary. Rachel thanked him warmly and walked ahead of me toward the exit. The moment she pushed through the front doors, Caselli caught my arm from behind. The call she made, he said under his breath. Our system logs every number dialed within the building. It's automatic. He pressed a folded paper into my palm. That number is registered to a Marcus Webb. Chicago address. We're running him now. He paused. Mr. Vanderbilt, don't go home tonight. I looked at Rachel waiting at the bottom of the station steps. Still smiling. Still perfect. I finally understood. I was never her husband. I was her next job. I didn't go home. I told Rachel I had an urgent meeting with my father. Completely believable, completely routine. She kissed my cheek at the station steps and took an Uber without hesitation. No suspicion. No resistance. Just that warm smile and don't work too late, babe. I watched that car disappear around the corner. Then I called my father. Edward Vanderbilt was 71 years old and had built an empire by trusting his instincts and absolutely nobody else. When I told him everything, the car listing, the name changes, the Phoenix fraud investigation, the call she'd made inside the police station, he was silent for a long time. The storage facility key card, he finally said. When did you give it to her? 3 weeks ago. Another silence. Longer this time. James. That facility doesn't just hold documents. His voice was completely controlled. Dangerously controlled. Last month I moved physical bearer bonds there. Temporary holding before transfer. $47 million worth. The ground shifted beneath me. Bearer bonds. Untraceable. Whoever physically possessed them owned them. No names. No records. No recovery once gone. Has she been to the facility? My father asked. I thought hard. Once. 2 weeks ago. She said she'd collected the Henderson contracts. The Henderson contracts were on my desk the entire time, my father said quietly. I never sent anything to storage. I stood on that Chicago sidewalk in the cold and understood completely. The car was never the target. It was a distraction. While I reported a stolen vehicle, Rachel had been buying herself time to reach $47 million. My father called his security team before I'd even hung up. 3 men were at the Naperville storage facility within 19 minutes. I know because my father timed it. Edward Vanderbilt had spent 50 years building something worth protecting. He didn't move slowly when it mattered. They arrived to find the facility's side entrance unlocked. Rachel had been there already. But she hadn't taken the bonds. She tried. The security team found the vault room open, the secondary lock disengaged. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing had worked that lock cleanly. Professionally. But the bonds themselves were sealed inside a biometric secondary case my father had installed 6 months ago without telling anyone. Including me. I never fully trusted digital access logs, my father told me later. So I added a layer nobody knew about. Rachel had gotten everything open except the final case. She'd been 11 digits away from $47 million. Meanwhile Caselli had been busy. Marcus Webb, the number Rachel had called from the police station, wasn't just a Chicago contact. He was a former securities broker. Disbarred in 2019 for orchestrating fraudulent asset transfers across 3 states. He and Rachel, or whatever her real name was, had worked together before. 2 previous cases. Different cities. Different targets. Same pattern. Identify wealthy targets. Build trust. Access assets. Vanish. They'd successfully disappeared with combined assets exceeding $9 million across both previous operations. Caselli called me at 6 p.m. We picked up Marcus Webb 40 minutes ago, he said. He gave us everything. Pause. James, Rachel isn't her real name either. Her real name was Diane Colton. Born in Tucson, Arizona. 38 years old. No permanent address on record for the past 9 years because she hadn't needed one. She'd been living inside other people's lives. Other people's homes. Other people's trust. Marcus Webb gave investigators everything in exchange for reduced charges. Names. Dates. Bank accounts across 4 countries. A detailed map of every operation they'd run together since 2015. Rachel, Diane, was arrested at O'Hare International Airport at 8:47 that evening. Gate B14. Boarding pass to Zurich. 1 carry-on bag. Inside that bag, a burner phone for different passports and $23,000 in cash. She'd been 11 digits and 1 biometric lock away from disappearing forever. I wasn't in the courtroom every day like I thought I'd be. I went once, the day she was sentenced. I needed to see it with my own eyes. Needed that finality to feel real. She looked different without the warmth. Without the performance. Sitting at that defense table she looked exactly like what she actually was. Someone who'd spent so long pretending to be other people she'd forgotten how to simply exist as herself. 14 years. Federal fraud. Identity theft. Conspiracy. She didn't look at me once. I drove home afterward through downtown Chicago. Past the charity fundraiser venue where we'd met. Past the restaurant where I'd proposed. Past the building where I'd once walked down to a parking garage and discovered my entire marriage was a carefully constructed lie. People ask if I'm angry. Honestly, I'm grateful. Grateful my last name flagged a listing. Grateful Caselli noticed. Grateful my father trusted nobody completely, not even me. Because in the end, that paranoia saved everything.